Alright guys, welcome back to Valorant News. Marved returned to the VCT last night for the first time in a long time since the OpTic days of last season. Had a phenomenal performance up against Loud, the reigning world champions. What does this mean for the future of Sentinels? They go down in the series in the ends, but with TenZ returning in the near future and Marved playing this well, what are they going to end up doing? Very much intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Plenty to get into today. First of all, quick update on the patch notes. Some things with Wingman and some miscellaneous updates. One additional nerf though for Killjoy, so the Nano Swarm reveal radius has been increased. So basically the enemy can see it from significantly further away. 350 units now to 525 units, so roughly a 50% increase, actually exactly a 50% increase in the reveal radius. That's one thing. Few audio tweaks and stuff as well. Remove the yellow warning UI indicator as well for the lockdown, which is definitely a change that people have been asking for. Quick note as well on Cloud9, just because there was an additional update here from Jack Etienne, of course president, CEO, whatever he is from Cloud9, saying that their decision to drop Ye and Vanity was at least in part due to their performances in scrims. We had nearly 5 months of scrim data where the old team wasn't performing well. The decision to change wasn't just a knee-jerk reaction. So interesting comments here. I know that a lot of people aren't really buying what Jack is selling here, right? Because they think, well, you know, at the end of the day, they said role changes or role issues, right? But, you know, we know the money thing was a bit of an issue. They lost the sponsors and there were questions about whether they could afford Ye, and that still does seem to be the prevailing theory. But it's interesting to know that their scrims weren't going particularly well and they were maybe planning this for some time. Whether you guys really buy this, I don't know. It's an interesting debate to be had in the comment section. And fair enough, maybe their scrims weren't going particularly well, but even a team like OpTic last season, their scrims I'm sure weren't unbelievable, and even this year I don't imagine NRG scrims are ridiculous, but they're much better in matches. There's some teams that are way better in games, in matches, than they are in practice. And even we saw with this Cloud9 team, they took down PRX quite comfortably and then lost to DRX in, okay, they took a map off DRX at least. The final two maps weren't close, but, you know, scrims aren't the be-all and end-all. But obviously pretty interesting statement, I thought, especially when Ye at the time did briefly like this tweet from Baller that he then unliked after the fact, maybe due to NDA reasons or whatever, just trying to find a way to get his points across. But, you know, still, someone screwed up and dropped the ball at the end of the day for that team. Quick note on KC as well. They actually almost won a series. They didn't win a series. They didn't even win a map here. But against Na'Vi, the second best team, I would say, in the EMEA region, they did a much better job. Scream, I don't know why Scream's been on the IGL for so long. I know that, I mean, he wanted to do it himself, but I know that so many people have said for a long time now, like, Scream, please, just give up on the IGL, get someone else to do it. And they brought in their assistant coach, of course, because Newzera decided enough is enough, I'm out of here. So they brought in their assistant coach, who had, okay, his numbers don't look great, but it doesn't really matter when he's IGLing the team, and Scream individually is playing way better. Ascent was 13-11, close fought series here. They had a decent chance, good into the first half, finished 6-6, and Lotus was 13-7, so, you know, but the first half again was competitive here before Na'Vi ran away with it on their attacking side. So honestly, this was a better showing from KC. They're still not a good team, obviously. This team isn't going to achieve anything, but at least they're no longer a complete laughing stock at the moment, so I guess that's a positive. But obviously Na'Vi walk away with what was a pretty easy and free victory. cNed had a good series on the whole. We've got to talk about the Americas as well. There was also BBL versus Vitality yesterday, and BBL got the job done 2-0. That was a big result in the EMEA side. But the Americas scene was popping off yesterday because Marved back in business for the first time since the OpTic gaming days, and he was actually still, OpTic was still here in spirit actually, because he had OpTic in his name in the first map that he played here before they changed it to Sen after the fact. But pretty funny stuff. So they played Pearl game 1 and Sentinels got the job done on Pearl. This was Loud's map pick, I believe. Marved had some big rounds in the middle of it, and you know, for example, in this particular round here, Marved made some plays. Marved was like incredibly good this series, I thought. I mean, that was the 3k in question that Marved made work. And then Sassy was pulling off some ridiculous clutches, and this is, I think we really got a glimpse here of what Sentinels are capable of doing. We haven't really seen it so far this season, but, you know, we know how good these players are. Pancada, Sassy, obviously Marved himself now back in the lineup, and it's honestly criminal that Marved has been a 6th man for this long, right? I know that the visa thing, I know that he didn't actually want to play, so it's not exactly Sentinel's fault, but just the idea that Marved, like a player of that caliber, is sitting there on the bench doing nothing for so long is just frustrating for, you know, from a Valorant fan perspective, because you want to see this guy in action more often. We know how good he was last season for OpTic, and even before that as well. So, but ShahZaM, we also got to see some of the best of him. 22 HP, somehow clutches up this pistol round. This was huge on the way for Sentinels winning this game. And then this was maybe the most controversial moment, game 2, where Marved goes in to try and get somehow a magic ninja defuse and actually catches a player just standing AFK. Bro fell asleep, Iceman just iced up this guy's PC and gets the defuse. This was such a weird round here, but this has happened before where even on LAN, it's apparently possible for disconnects to occur. I know that the LAN setup that they really play on nowadays isn't quite what like it used to be. I still think they're playing on like a server rather than actually a perfect LAN environment, but Marved goes in just hoping for a miracle defuse, manages to kill Toys just standing still and gets the defuse. Now this obviously you'd think, oh, it's got to be a round replay, right, because he lagged, you know, disconnected and would have got the kill otherwise, but the rulebook doesn't work like that. The rulebook basically says that if the round is significantly in progress, there's been damage done, there's been kills made, then the round runs to its conclusion, which I think is probably the best and most sensible way to approach it for multiple reasons. But it also must be said the question is a bit dubious in a way, because if there's a bug that occurs, then it probably is a replay, because I've seen that before as well. So there is some debate here whether it should or should not be a replay. I know that Will might have mentioned this in the finals and challenges too, where there was a lag out situation here, and this round again wasn't replayed. This was online and not on LAN, but nonetheless this was another round where there was a lag out and yet there wasn't a replay because that's what the rules say. So a bit controversial for sure, but in the end they get away with it. Loud made a bit of a comeback here and they were on the verge of making this comeback to come to fruition, but then ShahZaM went big again. Another ridiculous 1 versus 3 for ShahZaM, gets 2 and then kills Aspas as well for the final one. I mean, absolutely absurd the clutches this guy was pulling off. It was Marved, it was ShahZaM, the entire team of course played well, but in the end Loud, they are the world champions. They just about had enough here on the Haven. They got the job done 13-11, and then the final map wasn't particularly competitive in the end, and it was a Centrite that Loud came out on top on. But great series for Sentinels. They looked way better today than they've looked at any time so far. Maybe this is a coach diff at the end of the day. Kaplan comes in, puts the guys on the roles that I think do make more sense to watch it, and you finally see the levels of some of these players that we had seen in previous seasons for other rosters. The big question is though, right, with Marved coming in and performing like this, what does it mean for TenZ and him sitting on the bench right now? We know that he's got COVID, we know that his finger is injured, right, or he's got that infection that is hopefully healing, and I believe he's getting better day by day. So that, you imagine that TenZ comes back in at some point. I know that he was kind of joking around last night, like I'm the problem type thing, which, you know, I hope he doesn't fully believe, because, you know, I'm sure that he doesn't. He's dealt with all this difficult mental situation for the last several years, being as popular as he is. I'm sure that he can deal with it again for another couple of weeks. But also though, Sinatraa and crew giving their thought on what will happen when TenZ is ready to return, because when TenZ is ready to come back in, you're not getting rid of Marved. It just doesn't make sense. So is Kaplan going to decide as the new head coach for the roster when this is going to be happening, right, and TenZ is ready to return? Because either you don't bring TenZ back, which I think is a mistake, or you make what many people have been saying for some time, get rid of Dephh, switch up the IGLing position, maybe even take TenZ off the duel list and keep Zek in there, and then obviously maintain Marved in the roster.
The Sentinels, like what happens to their team at that point if they just 2-0 Loud today with Marv standing in?
Right?
Then I was the problem.
How do you start to think about the way the TenZ fits into the squad, and is this actually a better roster in terms of agent compositions and things?
Like, there's so many questions around this team, and even in
I do think their roles look really good right now, though.
It's like, okay, now you've beat Loud. How much more?
Zach's really comfy.
Boy, 0-6, not too shabby.
Yeah, I don't know, bro.
I mean, we know exactly what's about to happen, no?
How long before you think Dephh is on the chopping block?
I think after this week.
After this match?
Already,
Yeah,
brother.
I think so too.
They're already making the phone calls right now.
I think they bring Jimmy and they make Tyson play like initiator role. Watch.
You think? Who's gonna be the IGL? Saki?
Sasi IGL.
What? Yeah, so, what was that? The Shanghai Sharks?
Shanghai Sharks.
The Shanghai Sharks, Dephh?
Private jet.
Wait, what is happening?
Surely you put the Zoms in for Dephh now.
We have to. We just have to. Then we put TenZ on breach. Just make Sasi IGL.
Okay. What's the percent chance you think, Rosa?
The Sentinel?
That Dephh is not playing next match?
Oh, like 80?
Like Ashley?
Oh, 100%. I actually think if they can make Tyson play like initiator, they would let Jimmy play first. After his performance this BO3,
What do you mean this one? Every BO3.
What? Guys, he's
Well, no, I'm
calling.
saying-
Cut him some slack. What?
Well, yeah, Sassy's an IGL too. That's the problem.
He said he's calling, comes to slide, but they're 0-5. If they won some games, then it'd be fine.
Nah, I think
Nah, actually, they're like
Tyson
1-5.
comes back.
1-3.
He goes 6th man.
Oh, wow. And he's going to clear Death
Jared?
here, too?
That's their
Oh,
problem.
my. Wait, what?
Yeah, we lost,
IGL
bro.
Death.
Like Sodhawk IGLs, bro. Look at him go.
Yeah, but. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, wow. He's him.
Yeah.
What? I'm not hating on
When they won
that.
that championship, he was
I'm
IGL.
just asking Sabrozo a question, bro.
80%
What are the
it is,
chances he
huh?
plays
Well, I'm
next
sure
match?
he like
That's
probably
it.
rounds hella on Sentinel.
Or he doesn't play
I don't
next
think it's
match.
just like Death IGLing all around.
So what do you guys think will occur for Sentinels going forwards? Because this was a great performance. They do need to beat MIBR in a couple of days' time. They play, what, tomorrow, I'm pretty sure, against MIBR. So another big series. MIBR didn't have a good time last night, though, up against, as we'll see in a second, Leviathan. So there's definitely a good chance for Sentinels there. If they win that series, there will be a lot of optimism again around what this Sentinels team can do. Obviously, qualifying for Masters is going to be tricky, and therefore qualifying for Champions is going to be tricky. But it does feel like, especially how they played against Loud, that this is the way to go. And the Marved Return is, led Sentinels in multi-kills with 10. 77% of his kills were in round wins. So, it was having an awful lot of impact here. And a 2-1 for Loud in the end. Aspas was a monster. And I think even Kanzan had a ridiculous ace as well. So there was a few rounds that I'm sure Sentinels would want back, but still, Sassy, Marved leading the lines. Dephh had a hard time at 26 in 50, and that's where the questions are raised about whether at some point in the future, when TenZ is ready, they're going to make an additional change here, and Marved is going to stay in the lineup. So enjoy your thoughts in the comments below. Over 500,000 views for this series as well. I'm not surprised because obviously everyone wanted to see Marved back in business, and he certainly delivered on the main stage. And they play MIBR just tomorrow, as I say, and MIBR got bodied here by Leviathan. We know how good Leviathan are, but I'm sure this will give confidence to Sentinels that they can go against MIBR in a couple of days and get the job done, because 13-4 on Pearl and 13-3 on Icebox. So yeah, if Sentinels can play anything like they did today, they should be able to get the job done in this series, and that would at least put them in a respectable position, because they're currently 1-3. That's not great, but there's a long way to go. If they can get to 2-3 by the end of this week, and then when TenZ does return and they might make another change, they can certainly shoot up this leaderboard. But very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.